about this new technology. So I'm going to do this walking around stuff, and if that doesn't work, let me know by kissing and blowing. Okay, so the Arts Council's job is to make the public case for the arts, and I want to start first of all in saying that as part of the government, our job is to look at the public opinion and how that works, not necessarily to lobby government in a political way. But I do want to say congratulations to the Forum. I think it's one of the few, if not the only organisation who actually does take this idea of raising the profile of the arts seriously. And to Tanya and her team, at least the letter is on the website. If people use it, that's great. But Peer Forum seems to be doing everything right, doing everything it can to make this important case. So we've heard, it's great because I can flick you and change it. Okay, so we've heard a lot of doom and gloom on the national economy. It does seem that the national economy is going into a vortex or a downward spiral. And we heard this morning from John O'Kane how that's affecting the Arts Council. You can see that there was a big leap with the Celtic Tiger, and now the Arts Council funding is going down. And before I look at the implications of this for our building public support project, note I didn't use the word campaign, I want to just say a little bit about how those two slides, the public finances and the grant to the Arts Council, relate to each other. Can you see that? It's not very clear. Okay. So the best person to summarise this, I think, is John O'Hagan, who said in his really excellent book, The State of the Arts, that the only way in a society like ours that levels of public spending on the arts is decided is through what public opinion will tolerate. There's no magic formula. Yes, it would be nice, like the aid people, to get it linked to a percentage of GDP. Yes, it would be nice to have it as a certain target. We ourselves tried to update the public opinion ideas. But the only thing that makes it work is if people want it. And then how the equilibrium is found is when that public opinion works its way through the political process, through the things we all know about, through the things that Charlie spoke about, which is lobbying, the media, and most importantly in the long run, education. But in the short term, it's more pragmatic things that need to be brought to bear on it. So basically, what the public wants, the politicians will deliver. So we consider in the Arts Council, not only for that reason, but certainly partly for that reason, that public opinion is what we need to influence. Now, I can't in any respect attempt to say how we would do that, and I just thought Charlie's presentation was really excellent. Obviously, the skills, the expertise, and the imagination are there to do that task, but that's the job of work, the public. You need to break it down into niches and so on. So with all that vortex downward spiraling public economy, with the Arts Council sitting up and zooming down now, is that grounds for pessimism, or could there possibly be another side to this? So just to say, cuts all round, the Arts Council, the arts in general are not picked out for cuts. Just want to give you one example. Tourism actually yields 2 billion in tax revenues, and even tourism was cut by 16 million. So there's nothing is safe. How can you make a case in this type of an environment? What special positioning can we do in the arts which might make us a little bit different from those other sectors which are being cut, with the exception perhaps of social welfare, and we don't really want to see social welfare spending rise because that means unemployment. Okay, so we're in pessimistic, half-empty glass. What I want to look at is people who've made it work in the past, and this is my favourite metaphor for everything to do with the arts. The GAA. I've drawn on GAA for years of regional development theory and so on like that, so back now, looking at how they built their public support, how they built their case. Everyone recognise that? It's a program? Okay. Very interested for Charlie to hear that. 90% of people said they would prioritise sport. So not only did the GAA reposition Gaelic Games as cool, heroic, sexy, and not embarrassing type of things that you do by having a ham sandwich and a flask of tea on the footpath in Mountjoy Square at the back of the Fort Anglia. No, the GAA is now very modern, and it's a transformative project that took place over I would say about 12 years. Now, this is how they did financially. You can see there that it's 268.5 million in 8 years, and 114 million to build what is now world-class stadium, maybe the best stadium in Europe. People are flocking across town to go to it for all types of codes and games. Now, this place cost 30 million. The GAA, and we think this is the jewel in our crown. The GAA got 114 million for their place. So how did they do it? Well, I looked at that very carefully. What the GAA did was they linked their project to the national agenda. And my contention is that we have to do for the arts what the GAA did for Gaelic Games. Okay, so I think this is a chance. I think we have a real opportunity here. So far from being a half-empty glass, I think it's a half-full one. Because if we can link the arts to what's really bothering the nation now, we can put the arts in pole position to benefit from any type of preferential investment that might be going on. How the GAA positioned their organisation in that time was, the two things that were obsessing people were the peace process, because there was still trouble in the north, and there was a real concern about communities, because a lot of development was happening. Adamstown is an example of one which had a high profile, but also there were satellite suburbs where there was no sense of community, no community facilities. People were very worried about the demographic and social implications of this. So GAA said, we're about the peace process, we're going to deal with Rule 31, we're going to become inclusive, we're really going to back that, and we're going to look at community development. And that's how they did it. Can we do the same for the arts? Maybe. And if we can, a nation in difficulty is an opportunity for us. This could well be the only chance, because we mightn't have a nation in a downward spiraling vortex for another 70 years, but hopefully not. But we will kill ourselves if we don't take this chance to say, we were there, we saw the opportunity and we seized it. And indeed, a lot of what Charlie said about positioning ourselves really resonates very well with me. I think we need to put the arts central to the national economic recovery, and we need to look at the arts as important for Ireland's reputation abroad. So if we can make the arts pivotal in a national crisis, I think people will, it will work. And there are historic precedents for this. If you look at the Weimar Republic, what we remember about that period in time is the arts, the visual arts, and theatre particularly. But they were wheeling currency around in wheelbarrows in Weimar Germany. We don't remember any of that, and that's how we want to position the arts in this national crisis. And what we want is that you can't envisage in Ireland without the arts at all. Okay, so what is the national agenda? Well, I'm presuming very crudely that there are three bits to the national agenda. First is the jobs, jobs, jobs. Secondly, we have this concept of national pride and international reputation. People were speaking earlier about the steps that the Taoiseach is taking to restore Ireland's reputation in the States, but I think that applies right across Europe as well. And then you have the smart economy, which Charlie has spoken about. And the wonderful Kevin Spacey has actually put it very succinctly. He's rolled it into one. He says, it's not charity or empty philanthropy, it's not a donation, but it's an investment in jobs and our collective soul. And this sounds really good when Kevin Spacey says it. Okay, jobs, jobs, jobs. Just a few figures, and I'm not going to bore people with figures, but there's lots. And I was really interested to hear Charlie say as well. There's actually huge potential for the arts to position itself as a really important sector for employment. Not many people know it though. We don't profile ourselves as an important employment sector, but the 50,000 people who are working in arts and related industries actually compared to 70,000 in the IT sector. And if you talk about the ICT sector, you're talking about big issues from an economy point of view, but the arts is almost there with 50. A few other statistics there people will be familiar with. The